Hey, what is up, guys? Bluntguts here. This is a Watcher of Realms video. Thanks so much for tuning into my channel. I really appreciate it. I got some laid-back summoning advice for you. You know, I feel like the last month or so has been just very, very intense. Very intense. We've had a lot of really fantastic banners, and I think we got to buckle in and kind of lower our expectations for the immediate future. We're likely not going to have a lot of crazy stuff, at least not crazy stuff like week after week after week. I'd say once a month we're probably going to have a can't miss banner, something you do want to summon on, would be my guess. But this is not it. This is not the weekend that you need to be worried about. I think most of us are tapped out, which is probably why they are putting out these banners right now. So, you know, after doing the Kratos and the Uridin banner, the Lyra and Choose Your Own Hero banner, the Sun Wukong banner, the Ingrid and Ardea banner, we are getting a little break here, I think. That's my advice anyway. I would advise you to take a break. I am certainly going to be taking a break, which is good because I don't have anything to summon on anyway. I got like 20 rare summons after the last couple of days. I do have a bunch of divine summons. I saved those. My hope is that I can use them for Beelzebub when he does come out, but you know, we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know. I know that some folks are talking about him potentially coming out soon because his exclusive artifact did get released. I don't know that that is necessarily indicative of that. I mean, he's been on Forerunner for like 4 months at this point, so I don't know that that means that he's coming out sometime soon. It certainly does add to the intrigue, but you know, we'll have to wait and see. I think the next big summoning weekend is likely going to be on Valentine's Day, which is a little over a month from now, so we'll have to wait and see then. But for right now, we do have Glacius, Krodor on a 15x rate up. We've, of course, got the 2x banners on rare summons as well as divine summons. Honestly, we're going to start right there because I think that if you are early or mid-game and you are still looking for heroes, you're still looking for awakenings on common heroes, that's not a bad spot to summon, honestly. As much as I think consensus is generally that these are bad banners because they're around so much, I think these are actually, as far as, well, certainly as far as like expected legendaries is concerned, it's a pretty great value. And you know, if you're just looking to roll the dice and summon a little bit, I wouldn't mind going for that. I certainly won't be. I think I'm at a stage in my account's development where I think I'm better off just waiting for the heroes that I really do want to be on 15x rate up and, you know, just crossing my fingers and hoping that I get them. Obviously, the Wukong banner soured me on that a little bit, but at the end of the day, I would rather be summoning on a banner where even if the increase is small, I have a better chance to get the heroes that I want. So that's my perspective. As far as these banners right here, the Special Invocation of Spirits and the Special Divine Summoning, Krodor, Glacius, are both okay heroes. There's nothing wrong with either one of them. And certainly, if you are early to mid-game and you get one of these heroes, be happy because they're going to do work for you. Krodor is a decent, if not great tank, and Glacius is a good single-target damage dealer, especially since there are not a lot of single-target damage-dealing mages in the game. You could talk about, you know, Ingrid, great single-target damage dealer. You got Kratos, great single target damage dealer. Both are some of the rarest units in the game, coming from, you know, being lords as well as being ancient exclusives. So as far as non-ancient exclusive, more common heroes, it's Glacius, it's Nocturne, it's like a Nye. You know, there's just not, it's a lot of mid. And Glacius, I'd say, is towards the top of that heap of mid. So, you know, I don't think that this is worth going for, though, unless it's just like a burning desire to summon. Let's take a quick look at their awakenings. I'll try to highlight some stuff about both of these heroes and kind of talk through it. So like I said, Glacius is a single target mage. He is, he's solid. He's solid. He does extra damage when he's shielded. He does extra damage to frozen targets. Those are his kind of his calling cards. I think the other thing that is unique about Glacius is that he is freeze immune. And that is something that very few heroes have. And that is nice. It's very limited use, very niche use right now, but you know, it is what it is. So let's go through his awakenings real quick in case you are thinking about pulling. I will move myself over to the center of the screen so I'm not blocking stuff. But A1, when there's only one target in range, increases damage by 15%. He's also going to do an extra 15% damage against frozen targets. 300 attack on the A2, that's pretty standard. A3, increases shield strength gain by 20%. When shielded, increases damage dealt by 15%. So again, kind of plays into his his strengths, right? Increases the shield strength, which is going to increase his damage, then also increases the damage dealt when he is shielded by 15%. That's great. He works really well with Elder. If you've got Elder on your squad, then he might be somebody that I don't know, I wouldn't say you want to target him, but you might make more use of him than you would otherwise if you do have Elder. Elder really synergizes well with Glacius' skill set. The A4 is crit rate plus 8%. That's awesome. Gives you more gear flexibility. And then the A5 is a utility A5 where he basically gets something similar, talking about it. You mirror it again. He basically gets a res after going dormant for 10 seconds when he takes fatal damage for the first time. Not amazing, not great. Honestly, as an A5, I find that a little bit disappointing. It would mostly be useful in like a GVG type of environment, and he's just not good in GVG. He doesn't do enough AoE. He doesn't really do any AoE, but he does solid damage, and again, if you have the right Lord Elder to support him, he can do really, really well. Let's go take a look at Krodor real quick. So Krodor is kind of an interesting case. I think on the whole, he is a worse hero than Glacius is. However, he does have a more defined role in one piece of content in this game, being the Hellfire Emperor Codex, where he is one of the heroes that you typically see at the top of the leaderboards. So certainly he has a more defined niche than Glacius does. So I think on the whole, he is more useful. With that being said, he was a fusion, so many people already have him. If you are newer to the game or you missed out on that fusion for whatever reason, I still don't think he is worth pulling specifically for, but he's more desirable to you in that case. He is a defense scaling tank. By that I mean his damage scales off of defense. He doesn't really do any damage though, so like I don't know. I wouldn't be all that pressed about that. The game does not really give us the kind of gear that would support a hero like this. So even if he could do really great damage, we would not have the kind of gear to really maximize that and make him compete with any kind of attack-based damage dealers in this game. So it's kind of a moot point, but he does have high base defense, and that is kind of his calling card. We can go through his awakenings real quick, but ultimately the main thing that you want to know about him is this right here. This skill right here, his ultimate, which I'm blocking right now, I'll move myself over, increases block by 2. And defense by 70%. This lasts for 15 seconds. We don't really care about most of that. Increases block by 2. That's the only thing that really matters. That is the only thing that really makes a big difference. It's because in the Hellfire Codex, being able to increase your block is the defining characteristic that allows tanks to thrive in that codex. So the fact that he has this in his kit really does make a big difference. It's not crazy. The rage cost is relatively high, but it is 2 extra block on demand, which can come into play if you are trying to progress in that codex. So certainly that is something. And then the other thing too, I would say this Braveheart passive right here is pretty solid as well, because it does do this attack reduction thing, which is interesting. I don't know that there's another hero in the game that does this. And then on top of that, after it is triggered, it will stun 10 targets, 2 seconds stun. Very solid stun time on it. 2 seconds, it's a longer stun. Every single basic attack for, I think, up to, 7 basic attacks if you do have him fully skilled up. So it's really solid, really solid. The problem, it can only be triggered once per deployment. Until you pull a lot of copies of him. So let's go take a look at his awakenings real quick, and I will just kind of talk through them. So, move myself back over here. The A1, when gaining shield strength increases by 20%. That is great. He is a Northerner. I didn't mention that. Northerners are the best tanks in the game. The Lord bonus, granting shields to allies, is very, very useful for tanks. So if you do have a tank you want him to be in the Northerner faction, that certainly does help him. And this is only going to amplify the benefit that he receives from those shields. A2 plus 200 defense. Honestly, I would prefer this to be HP, but I guess because he is a defense-based hero, then they give him defense. It's not terrible. It's not great. The A2 wasn't going to be super impactful any way you slice it, so I wouldn't be too concerned about it. But I think as far as just being a tank, you would probably be better off with a HP A2. A3, this is not as good as it might initially seem. During the state of anger, basic attack restores an additional rage of 50. Now, this is awesome. Move myself over so you can see here. Except you got to consider the last part of that passive that I was just talking through. The ultimate is not usable in this state. This effect can only be triggered 1 time per deployment. So you can only, at most, get this 1 time per deployment, unless you get him another couple of awakenings beyond this, but we'll get to that in a second. And on top of that, you can't use the ultimate when he's in this state, meaning that if you are rage capped or close to rage capped, when this does trigger, then you're not getting any benefit from the added rage that you get onto it. It further reduces the benefit from this awakening, meaning that I just don't think it's worth pulling awakenings for this guy, period. I mean, if you get them, fine, but I just would not be looking for them, honestly, which again kind of doubles down on the fact you should not be pulling on this banner. The A4, all damage reductions plus 8%. This is pretty standard for most tanks. It is a really nice, solid A4, though, so I definitely do think that is helpful. And the A5, the State of Anger has a 60-second cooldown, which is awesome. It's a good A5, honestly. This Braveheart passive is probably his best skill at the end of the day. It is really, really good. The extra stuns and whatnot, I think that if he can do this, if you can get him to A5, he might have broader kind of usage. But I will say that Reeve, for example, just gets this on his ultimate, and you can use it over and over again. So the stuns are nice. It is a good skill. Being able to trigger it once every 60 seconds is obviously far superior to once per deployment, but you have to pull 6 copies of him to get this, and it just doesn't, he doesn't do all that much for you otherwise, which is why I would say that in truth, the best thing about him is that ultimate providing an extra 2 block. Other than that, you don't really need anything, and you don't need to put any skill ups or pull any extra copies of him to make that work, which is why I don't think it makes sense for you to be pulling this weekend. So there you have it, guys. I do not think that this is a great weekend to pull. I think that if you are desperate to pull earlier mid-game, like I said, I would go on the 2 times myself. Maybe you're a collector and you are missing one or both of these heroes and you want to pull. Yeah, I mean, you can do it, obviously. Keep in mind, my advice is coming, 1, from an endgame perspective, and 2, from, I guess, like an efficiency perspective, where I'm trying to give you advice on how I think you're going to maximize the power of your account long term. I don't think this is a power building weekend. Getting Krodor, getting Glacius is not really going to change your account one way or the other, at least not with any of the current content in the game. But there's no wrong way to play this. If you want to get these heroes, go ahead and pull. But I also think you're probably tapped out and you're probably better off just saving. So in any case, guys, please do let me know what you think. I will throw out another request for questions for the mailbag that I am trying to put together for sometime next week. So if you have something that you do want to ask, feel free. No question is off limits. Please do toss it down in the comments, and I will do my best to get your response in the mailbag. But I do appreciate you all tuning in. If you didn't catch my video yesterday, Happy New Year to everybody. Please take a moment, click that thumbs up button, like this video, and toss me a sub if you have not subscribed already. I would really appreciate it, and it is a great free way to support my channel. So thank you so much in advance if that is something you can do. But otherwise, I will catch you all next time.